Hi, I'm Ryan Fraze. I am the CTO of T3 Books, and I want to get started with donations a little bit today. Donations is such a fundamental part of running a nonprofit or church. So I want to walk through how to set it up in T3 Books and how it can give you insight into the health of your org and also just general strategy and how to do things. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So if you land on this little org here, I've got nothing in here really yet. So of course we got no graphs. But let's go ahead and jump right in and set up our donations. So when you land on donations, you're going to have to add a source. All right. And I'm going to show you how to add Cash Check or other. We are building integrations by the day. We have PushPay set up, but we are building integrations by the day to bring in your donations from any source just automatically. But let's just do a cash example. All right. So our source name, I'm just going to say cash. And then what accounts does the income come into? I'm just going to say our default income account. You can add multiple here, by the way. And then you can star the one that's the default. And then what bank account are we going to hit? And we're just going to say default checking here. And then I'm going to set this source as my default donation source. All right. And then you can even say it has an initial balance if it does. So let's create the source. All right, so this will take a minute, and I want to quickly explain what this is doing. This is actually creating something we like to call managed accounts. So if you go to your foundation and you note now, we're going to have a different income. And this we're going to have a different asset here. We're going to have some other stuff going on, but we have an asset here. This is a donation source, and I can't edit it. You can move it around or reorganize it, but you can't edit it because this is going to be managed by our donation source. And this is where any donation is going to go into before it hits our bank. So I will show you briefly how that works. So if we go back to donations, we now have a source. So we can go ahead and drop this down and we can add a new donation. So let's say that on the 7th, and remember, this is our one source we already have, we have Freddie Jones gave us in the general fund, gave us $250. Now, notice right here, this pops up and says, hey, this person is the little orange thing. This is not a donor we have yet. So we need to tell T3 that Freddie@gmail.com is his email, or you can do an address, or you can do both. It's up to you, but you do need to enter that in so we know kind of where this money is going to go, who the donor is and where we're going to send a statement or anything like that to. So we'll go ahead and record that donation. And while we give it a minute, it takes a minute the very first time to kind of set some initial things up and to create the donor. Here we go. So we now have Freddie Jones. All right, and then let's say that on the same day, we had Samantha, and Samantha gave money. She was feeling pretty generous to general fund and restricted fund, and she gave 120, and she gave 160. All right, and so that's a total of $280. And of course, we have to enter in her address, and let's just do. She lives in Street Avenue. She lives where I do in Fresno, California. All right, and so we can record her donation. So now you notice we have Samantha, and she gave to both of those funds. And then we have also Freddie, and he gave to the general fund. All right, so now let's say that you got around to going to the bank. And so you can click these. Now, of course, let me quickly show you. You can click edit or delete, and you can change any details here as well, right? So feel free to do that. But let's say that you got around to going to the bank and depositing these. So you went, and you can click them both. By the way, you can shift click. Let's say you have 100 of these. You can click one, shift click the other, and it will select everything in between. But you went to these, and you have a processing fee, let's say. So let's say that you have a percentage per transaction. These were, let's say, credit cards. I said you went to the bank, so I know that conflicts kind of, but let's say they're credit cards for sake of argument. So you have 2.2% you pay on them plus 30 cents. 30 cents per transaction. All right. And then let's say your sweep date is when it got deposited. So they used the credit cards on the 7th, but the 14th is when it actually got deposited in your bank. All right. So let's create a deposit here. And you'll notice that will kind of batch these together in one. You could do hundreds of them in one batch. But now, here we go. We have our fees and we also have the net here. You can click the drop down and you'll see the individual donations. But the key here is that this, if we go to our bank account, just created a deposit. And if we wanted to drop down, you'll notice that it is hitting both funds because remember, we had donations to both funds. And if you click here, you can't edit it, but you can it will go ahead and send you here and show you, see the little outline here, what donations those were or where that came from. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and record another donation just to show you an example of how the accounting here works on the 20th. And actually, this deposited on the 14th. So let's go ahead and do this one on the 13th. And this one was Samantha again. And this time, just the restricted fund and $200. All right. And again, on the same day, we'll do Freddie Jones. And he's going to give just to the restricted fund. It was a fundraiser. He's going to give $100. All right. So we've got two more donations here, but notice that these are not batched, right? They haven't been deposited in the bank account yet. They're still floating out there. So let's go and check out our balance sheet. And you're going to notice what this does. You're going to notice that we have $300 in undeposited funds because those two donations that we just did haven't been swept yet. All right. And so they kind of, aren't there yet. And if you go and click on it, you can look at the general ledger where our donations are also available. And you'll note that we have our contribution batch, which sent it to our account, right? And you'll also notice we have our donations here. All right. So kind of useful. Okay. Now let's go ahead and go to our income statement. And this is also going to be a useful place to see where it hits. So we haven't deposited those funds yet, but they're already in our undeposited funds. So you'll notice that they're already counted as income here because we have received the money. It's just living in undeposited funds right now. All right. And so really quickly to show you the last thing, just to make sure it sinks in, $300 in undeposited funds here. If we went back to our donations and we swept these, so let's say we swept them as of the 4th, we finally got around to go to the bank. No fees this time, it was just cash. We now have a deposit, right? Our bank account now shows both of these. And then it might take 1 minute to flush through. But if you go to your balance sheet, it already flushed through. You'll notice we have 0 undeposited funds now, right? So whenever you receive a donation, it lives in undeposited. And then when it deposits, it goes into your actual account that you directed it to, right? Less any fees. So you'll also notice in the income statement, if we've accrued enough fees to really show something by now, you will see the fees. There we go. We have donation fees showing up right here. And that is split by fund, of course, as it should be. Last thing I want to show you is the donations reports. So there's some kind of cool stuff going on here in the donations reports. So I'll give it just a minute to load up. And there you go. You'll notice it'll show you our donations, how much we've raised, how many donors, and overall by fund, how much we've received, what months, all these kind of graphs. And then you could actually look at each person and each donor and see what's going on here. And you could also send them a giving statement, or you could send giving statements to everyone. Now, I actually won't be able to do this yet, because really what I should do before I'm able to send statements, it's going to check everything out, and we can write an email and we can even include their names, etc. But what we really need to do before we can do that is add our tax ID so that it can actually be put on those emails and they know when they file with the IRS where that goes. All right. So I know that was quite a bit of information, and I know I went through it fairly quickly, but you can kind of see the power, and also kind of the cool thing about it is that the donations, as soon as you register them, they're there in your accounting, and you can kind of see them travel through from undeposited to deposited, and the fees as well, all by fund. So you can kind of get an idea of the true financial picture of your org right away. There's quite a bit more graphs and charts that are become available as you have more data that show you kind of if donors are dropping off or different things like that you might find really useful and interesting. So I hope this helped. If you have any questions, remember you can always reach out at support@t3books.com or hit the chat feature and start chatting with the bot, which will of course grab us if there's any real issues. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and I hope this was helpful.